Welcome, everyone, to the Space and Astronomy Podcast. This is where we regularly explore the vast unknowns of our universe, usually with a good mix of curiosity, some healthy skepticism, and, well, a whole lot of imagination.
Absolutely.
Today, we are embarking on what I think is a truly cosmic deep dive. We're venturing into a question that's really sparked endless debate, and fueled our collective imagination for decades now. Is SETI, the search for extraterrestrial intelligence, an inspiring scientific mission, a profound philosophical quest, or, as its critics often say, is it just a colossal waste of time and money?
Yeah, it's a question that immediately grabs you, doesn't it? I mean, when you really stop and think about the sheer scale of the universe, we're talking billions of galaxies, right?
Yeah.
Each packed with billions of stars.
It's almost impossible to comprehend.
Exactly. And statistically, an almost unfathomable number of planets orbiting those stars. So the idea that we might be completely alone, it just feels almost impossibly improbable,
Right. It seems unlikely.
Yet here we are, after, more than 6 decades of dedicated, systematic searching? Still no definitive answer, no clear signal. And that tension, you can feel it.
Definitely.
We're talking about hundreds of millions, maybe even billions of dollars invested globally, countless hours of scientific effort, real ingenuity, and, well, from a certain point of view, no clear, tangible return.
And that leads straight to the criticism.
It does. It leads critics to ask, pretty pointedly, are we just shouting into this vast, silent, cosmic expanse? Or maybe more accurately, since SETI is mostly about listening, are we simply listening into the void, endlessly hoping for a whisper that just never comes?
That's precisely the heart of it, and it's what makes this deep dive, I think, so compelling. Our mission today is to really unpack the different sources surrounding SETI, pull out the most important bits of knowledge and insight, and help you, our listener, understand what's truly at stake in this whole cosmic debate. We're going to look at its ambitious beginnings, the really sharp criticisms it faces, the unyielding hope of its defenders.
And there are passionate defenders.
Oh, absolutely. And even, what might happen if, against all odds, that silence were finally broken. So, yeah, let's start unpacking this cosmic enigma.
Okay. Well, to really understand the search today, we kind of need to go back to the beginning, to its genesis. SETI, as we know it now, is actually a relatively young scientific field. Its roots go back to the early 1960s.
Yeah.
And this was when a pioneering American astronomer, Frank Drake, conducted what's now widely seen as the very first modern SETI experiment. He called it Project Ozma.
Project Ozma, yeah. That definitely sounds like something straight out of science fiction, doesn't it? But it was grounded in, real scientific logic and this deep curiosity. What made that first project so foundational for its time and for everything that came after?
Well, I think its brilliance was really in its simplicity, combined with this audacious ambition. Drake was working at the National Radio Astronomy Observatory in Green Bank, West Virginia. And he pointed by today's standards, a modest 85-foot radio telescope at 2 stars that are relatively nearby, Tau Ceti and Epsilon Eridani. And his approach was incredibly straightforward. He just listened.
Just listen.
Yeah. He tuned the telescope to the 21-centimeter wavelength. Now, that's the specific radio frequency where neutral hydrogen, which is, the most abundant element in the universe, naturally emits radio waves.
Ah, okay, so there was a logic behind that specific frequency.
Absolutely crucial logic. The thinking was, if any intelligent civilization out there wanted to send a signal, this frequency would be like a universal beacon. It's easily detectable across huge distances, and presumably any civilization advanced enough for radio astronomy would know about it.
Like a cosmic meeting point.
Exactly. Sometimes called the water hole of the radio spectrum. The core idea was this sort of philosophical leap. If intelligent life exists and they have radio tech, they might logically choose this universal frequency to announce themselves, just like we might. So Project Ozma was really that initial spark. It was the first practical, systematic attempt to actually do the search, moving it beyond just talk and theory.
Yeah.
It showed that listening was, at least in principle, possible.
Yeah.
And it really paved the way for everything else.
And from that, incredibly humble beginning, just one astronomer, one relatively small dish SETI has truly exploded, hasn't it? It's gone from that to this incredibly complex global effort.
Oh, yeah.
Moving way beyond Ozma to these massive, well-funded campaigns spanning continents.
The scale now is just astonishing. Initially back in the 70s and 80s, SETI did get some government funding, mostly through NASA.
Yeah.
primarily for, feasibility studies, developing specialized hardware, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But it often became a bit of a political football. Critics questioned its immediate value, the usual arguments, and that led to NASA's SETI program being defunded in 1993.
Right, I remember that Senator Bryan's Golden Fleece Award, wasn't it?
That's the one. And that shift really changed the game. Modern SETI, the big efforts we see today, relies predominantly on private philanthropy.
Like Breakthrough Listen.
Exactly like Breakthrough Listen. Launched in 2015 by the billionaire Yuri Milner, that initiative alone committed, initially, $100 million.
Wow.
And that figure has grown into hundreds of millions since then, with more investment. All specifically for these massive listening campaigns. They're not just using one telescope anymore. They're leveraging some of the most sensitive instruments on Earth, and even thinking about space-based ones.
Which telescopes are we talking about?
Well, iconic radio telescopes like the Green Bank Observatory is still going strong, or the Parkes Observatory in Australia. They're even connecting with newer arrays like Meerkat in South Africa.
So a truly global network.
Absolutely. But the core mission, interestingly, has stayed remarkably consistent even as the tech is scaled up exponentially. It's still primarily about listening, quietly, patiently. Not really about sending messages, at least not in a big way yet.
Right. MATA, messaging extraterrestrial intelligence, is a whole other, much more controversial debate.
Precisely. The audacious ambition for SETI remains. Detect intelligent life, not just microbes, but intelligent life beyond Earth. And the way to do that is by finding a signal that unmistakably could only be artificial. It's the ultimate search for that needle in the cosmic haystack, an artificial whisper buried in the universe's natural roar.
Which brings us, unfortunately, to the really unsettling reality. The elephant in the cosmic room, you could say. Despite all these incredible efforts, the cutting-edge tech, the hundreds of millions, maybe billions, poured in over 60-plus years. Nothing. Silence. A profound, complete, utter silence.
That silence. It is profound, and it forces us, doesn't it, to confront that initial ambition head-on. What does 60-plus years of hearing nothing actually mean for that grand hope that launched SETI in the first place?
Is it game over? Or is the game just much, much harder than we thought?
Exactly. Is it a sign of futility? Does it suggest maybe no one is out there, at least not transmitting in a way we can pick up? Or is it simply a measure of the immense, and I mean truly immense, challenge?
The scale is just hard to grasp.
It really is. The universe is vast beyond our comprehension, billions of light years across. 60 years is, cosmically speaking, nothing, a blink of an eye. Think about the sheer volume of space you have to search, the countless frequencies, the possible signal strengths, the directionality.
And civilizations might not broadcast forever.
Right. Or they might only broadcast intermittently. Or maybe they use methods we can't detect. It's like standing on a beach, trying to hear one specific conversation happening somewhere in a vast, noisy ocean with no idea where or when it might occur.
Yeah.
So for the people investing their time, their resources, their careers in this, that persistent silence, it weighs heavily. And it absolutely sets the stage for the criticism SETI has faced.
And that striking fact, the decades of silence, it really fuels the major criticisms, doesn't it? This isn't just abstract science anymore. It gets very real when you talk about resources and what else could have been done.
Precisely. The central criticism, the one that probably resonates most immediately, is this no tangible return argument.
Right.
Billions spent globally over decades, and the direct result. No signals, just cosmic noise. And this isn't just about the money already spent, the sunk costs. It's about opportunity cost. It raises a really profound ethical question.
Should we prioritize these incredibly long-shot, maybe improbable, but cosmically huge questions over immediate needs?
That's exactly what critics ask. Could this immense sum of money and also the considerable brainpower involved have been better spent? Could it have funded more immediate, pressing scientific challenges or social challenges right here on Earth?
And that forces you, the listener, to really consider it. What urgent needs could those billions have tackled? We're talking about things like, say, accelerating climate change research. That's an immediate existential threat.
Right, undeniably.
Or maybe bolstering global poverty reduction initiatives, things that impact billions of lives right now. Or even staying within space science, could those funds have built even better telescopes to directly image exoplanets, or funded more missions to Mars or Europa or Enceladus to look for microbial life?
Yeah, it really makes you pause and weigh those priorities. The distant, maybe unknowable versus the immediate pressing needs of humanity right here, right now.
And the criticism goes deeper than just money, too. There's this idea of anthropocentric bias.
Yes, are we just looking for ourselves argument.
Exactly. The criticism suggests that SETI is inherently limited because it basically assumes aliens would use technologies we understand, like radio or maybe lasers, things we ourselves use or can conceive of using.
But that's fundamentally a projection, isn't it? It's projecting our tech path, our understanding of physics, onto hypothetical alien civilizations. What if their physics is different? What if their communication methods are totally beyond what we can currently grasp?
Like, what if they use something we haven't even discovered yet? Some principle of nature we're completely unaware of.
It could be. Maybe something involving quantum entanglement, linking particles instantly across vast distances. Or maybe manipulating space-time itself in ways we can barely theorize about. Or perhaps communication happens through vast, complex biological networks, not electromagnetic waves at all.
It really challenges the core assumption of the search, doesn't it? It's almost like we're searching for a reflection of ourselves, not something truly alien. It forces us to question our own limited viewpoint.
And then there's the funding model itself, the criticism about survivorship bias in funding.
What does that mean exactly?
It suggests that SETI projects often survive and get funded, not necessarily because they're the most scientifically sound or likely to succeed based on evidence, but because the idea is incredibly romantic.
The allure of first contact.
Precisely. That idea holds this immense, almost primal appeal, especially for, say, private philanthropists, billionaires maybe, who are willing to take a high-risk, high-reward gamble on something so fundamentally exciting.
So the projects that get funded might be the ones with the best story, not necessarily the best odds.
That's the argument. This bias could mean that the projects that do get funding are the ones with the most compelling narrative, the most romantic vision, rather than those with the highest probability of success based on cold, hard scientific metrics. Public institutions, accountable to taxpayers, might hesitate.
Which highlights that difference between public versus private funding, right? Public money often needs more justification, more measurable outcomes, maybe shorter timelines.
Generally, yes. Whereas private philanthropists can chase a grander, perhaps less probable dream driven by personal vision, not public mandate. It offers a certain freedom, but also raises questions about priorities.
And all this talk of silence and long odds inevitably brings up the big one, the Fermi paradox.
Yes. Where are they? Enrico Fermi's famous lunchtime question from, 1950?
That's the one. It highlights that stark contradiction. The universe seems like it should be teeming with life, maybe even intelligent life, given the sheer number of stars and planets.
The Drake equation tries to estimate that, however imperfectly.
Right. But then there's the complete lack of any observable evidence. No signals, no alien megastructures, no signs of galactic colonization, nothing. Just us, apparently.
And the decades of silence from SETI just amplify that paradox, don't they? If we're listening this hard and hearing nothing, it makes Fermi's question even more pointed.
It suggests some really unsettling possibilities, the so-called solutions to the paradox.
Right. Maybe intelligent life is just incredibly rare, or maybe civilizations tend to wipe themselves out before they can go interstellar, the great filter idea, which is a pretty chilling thought.
Or perhaps they just don't bother communicating across space. Maybe it's too difficult, or they lose interest or evolve beyond it.
Or the zoo hypothesis. They know we're here but deliberately don't interfere, observing us like cosmic zookeepers. Or maybe they're here, but undetectable. The possibilities are mind-bending.
So SETI silence isn't just a lack of data points. It's tied into this deep, profound cosmological mystery that touches on our own future and fragility. It's a silence that speaks volumes, really.
Despite all these criticisms, despite the silence, despite the Fermi paradox looming over everything, SETI has incredibly passionate defenders. And their arguments are, I think, just as compelling, maybe even more so in their vision.
Where do they start? What's the core defense?
I think the most powerful argument they make is simply the sheer overwhelming enormity of the stakes.
The potential payoff is just immense.
Exactly. Think about it. If we do find intelligent life, if SETI detects just one confirmed, unambiguous artificial signal, that could be, without any hyperbole, the single most important discovery in all of human history.
It changes everything. Our understanding of life, our place in the universe, philosophy, religion, science, everything.
It's the ultimate paradigm shift, isn't it? Borders might suddenly seem trivial. Our whole perspective on ourselves and the cosmos would expand overnight. So defenders argue, even if the chance is incredibly small, 1 in a billion, 1 in a trillion, that tiny chance is absolutely worth pursuing because the consequences of success are so profound. It's the ultimate aha moment for the entire species.
Yeah, hard to argue with the potential significance.
And beyond just that ultimate prize, defenders also point to the unforeseen benefits, the technological spin-offs that SETI research has already produced.
Right, it's not just about waiting for the signal. The process itself has value.
Absolutely. The process of searching has driven incredible innovation that ripples out into other fields. Think about the advances needed in data processing, for instance. Sifting through those mountains of cosmic noise to find a tiny artificial signal requires incredibly sophisticated algorithms.
And those algorithms don't just stay within SETI.
Not at all. Those same techniques, or variations of them, are now used in things like medical imaging, helping find faint signals in MRI or CT scans. They're used in financial modeling, complex climate simulations, analyzing seismic data. The list goes on.
That's a really crucial point. So even without finding ET, the tools developed for the search have tangible benefits. Advanced signal processing, techniques for filtering noise, improving the sensitivity of radio telescopes.
Exactly. Those advances benefit other areas of radio astronomy, studying pulsars, black holes, distant galaxies. They can even improve things like global telecommunications. So this directly challenges that no tangible return criticism. The process itself does yield tangible progress, even if the main goal remains elusive.
Okay, that's a strong counter-argument on the practical side. What about the funding criticism again, the waste of resources idea?
Well, defenders push back on that by highlighting the private funding aspect again. Modern SETI, especially the big projects like Breakthrough Listen, relies much less on taxpayer dollars these days and much more on private philanthropy.
Right, Yuri Milner's hundreds of millions.
Exactly. He specifically set up Breakthrough Listen to provide stable, long-term funding, aiming to take it out of the realm of short-term political cycles or fluctuating government budgets.
And this brings up that question for you, the listener, again. If it's primarily private money, donations from individuals choosing to spend their own wealth on this, is it really a public waste?
It shifts the argument, doesn't it? It's less about diverting public funds from, say, healthcare or education, and more about individuals making a personal, albeit massive, bet on humanity's biggest questions. It highlights the role private capital can play in funding high-risk, potentially high-reward frontier science that public bodies might shy away from.
A different kind of scientific patronage, really.
And then we get to what I personally find one of the most compelling arguments for SETI, its profound philosophical value.
Beyond the science and tech spin-offs.
Way beyond. Even if we ultimately find nothing, the mere act of searching, of systematically looking, forces humanity to confront one of the deepest questions imaginable. Are we alone?
Just asking the question has value.
Immense value. The search itself enriches our perspective. It inspires art, literature, science across cultures. And maybe, just maybe, it unites humanity, even slightly, under this shared sense of cosmic curiosity looking outwards together.
That really resonates. It taps into that fundamental human need for meaning, for understanding our place in the grand scheme of things. It's cosmic self-reflection.
It is. It's a collective effort to understand if our consciousness, our intelligence, this thing we value so highly, is just a fluke on one small planet or part of a much larger cosmic chorus.
So can science have symbolic value, even if the practical results are uncertain? SETI defenders argue passionately. Yes, absolutely.
The search itself, regardless of the outcome, becomes this powerful expression of our deepest drives, curiosity, exploration, the yearning for connection. It reflects hope that we're not alone, humility that we might not be the pinnacle of cosmic intelligence, and maybe that yearning, that someone out there might have figured things out, survived their own challenges, and has wisdom to share.
It's about looking up, wondering, and pushing the boundaries of what we can know.
Which leads us neatly into the ultimate what if. The thought experiment that really stretches the imagination. What if the silence does break?
Okay, let's go there. Hypothetically, tomorrow, SETI gets a signal. Clear, repeating, complex, non-random, undeniably intelligent, artificial, not a pulsar, not interference, the real deal.
Wow, okay, what happens then?
Yeah, the ultimate then what moment. A moment that would just fundamentally change human history. It immediately throws up so many questions, doesn't it? For you, the listener, what do you think happens next?
Well, the very first step, before anything else, has to be rigorous validation, verification.
Absolutely critical. We've been fooled before, or at least gotten excited prematurely. You mentioned LGM-1, the first pulsar.
Right. Little Green Men 1 turned out to be a natural phenomenon, albeit an amazing one.
And the WOW signal in 77. A tantalizing blip, strong, narrow band, but it never repeated. Still unexplained but not confirmed ET.
Exactly. So the scientific community would be incredibly cautious. Right? The burden of proof would be immense. Any claim of detecting an alien civilization needs multiple independent verifications.
So other observatories around the world would need to lock on to the signal, confirm its characteristics.
Yes. Teams of scientists would meticulously analyze the data, ruling out every conceivable natural source, every possible form of terrestrial interference. Imagine the intense scrutiny, the global scientific effort focused on just confirming it. Only after that level of certainty could any kind of official announcement be made.
And assuming it is confirmed, validated beyond reasonable doubt, then what? The global reaction.
Seismic is probably the right word. Immediate. Governments, scientists, the public. Everyone would be thrown into this whirlwind. Debate, excitement, maybe fear, panic in some quarters. A whole spectrum of reactions.
And the first huge question, dominating everything, do we reply?
Or do we stay silent? What are the ethics? What are the practical implications? Do we reveal ourselves to an intelligence whose nature, intentions, capabilities are completely unknown? Or do we just keep listening, try to learn more first, without giving away our own position?
It's the ultimate strategic dilemma.
It really is. And while SETI scientists have thought about this, there's a sort of post-detection protocol, a declaration of principles.
But it's pretty vague, isn't it? And not binding.
Exactly. It suggests things like notifying scientific bodies, sharing data openly, and basically holding off on any reply until there's international consultation. But it leaves the huge questions unanswered.
Like, who actually speaks for Earth, the UN, a scientific group? Does anyone have that authority?
Great question. No clear answer. And what if the message is indecipherable? Just a beacon? Or what if it's understandable but disturbing? A warning, a threat. Or reveal something about the universe we just weren't ready for. We are completely off the map here, no precedent.
It would be the ultimate reshaping of humanity, wouldn't it? A confirmed signal rewrites philosophy, religion, science, our sense of self, potentially overnight.
Borders might suddenly seem absurd. Maybe it fosters a sense of global unity, a shared destiny facing the cosmos. That's the optimistic view.
But there's a flip side.
There is. Without a clear, robust, agreed-upon plan, that same discovery could spark fear, conspiracy theories run rampant, geopolitical tensions flare up as nations maybe try to gain an edge or control the narrative. It's the ultimate payoff, potentially, but also carries immense risks and responsibilities. It really invites you to imagine that world-altering event in all its complexity.
And that intense scenario brings us back, full circle almost, to the economic critique. If SETI is such a long shot with such uncertain timelines and maybe even dangerous outcomes, what if we did divert those resources?
The opportunity cost question again. What if we took those billions, that brain power, and focused it elsewhere, either on other cosmic paths or maybe closer to home?
It's a crucial thought experiment, weighing the priorities within our, cosmic budget. One big alternative: invest more in next-gen space telescopes.
Right. Instead of just listening passively, build instruments specifically designed to study exoplanet atmospheres directly, looking for biosignatures.
So not necessarily listening for intelligent signals, but looking for the chemical fingerprints of life itself, like oxygen, methane, things produced by biological processes.
Exactly. Instruments like the James Webb Space Telescope are doing a bit of this now, but future concepts like HABEX or LV-ORAC could do much more detailed analysis. It's a different path to finding life, maybe microbial life first, and arguably more direct, scientifically, than waiting for a deliberate signal.
Okay, that's one alternative. What about focusing funds here on Earth?
That's another major alternative. Funnel those resources into pressing terrestrial challenges, accelerating climate research, as you mentioned, developing large-scale carbon capture, investing heavily in AI safety research, which many see as another potential existential risk, or making a massive dent in global poverty or public health.
Areas with immediate, urgent human impact. Measurable returns, arguably. It starkly contrasts with SETI's long, speculative quest.
Definitely highlights that immediate versus long-term tension.
And then there's the astrobiology focus within our own solar system.
Right, distinct from SETI's focus on intelligence, but related. Sending robotic missions to hunt for life, likely microbial, on Mars, under the ice of Europa, or in the plumes of Enceladus.
places we know have or had liquid water, a key ingredient for life as we know it.
Precisely. Missions like Europa Clipper are heading that way. And the argument some make is these missions might find microbes long before SETI finds a whisper. It suggests a higher probability of finding some kind of life, closer to home, perhaps sooner.
Okay, so several plausible alternative uses for those resources.
But here's the dilemma, the philosophical choice again. All those alternatives, better telescopes, climate research, searching for microbes nearby, they tend to be more short-term focused, relatively speaking. They aim for more immediate, perhaps more certain returns, addressing current needs or near-term science goals.
Whereas SETI?
SETI is fundamentally about the long game. It's playing on a cosmic timescale.
As proponents might say, it's about civilization building, not just crisis management.
That's a good way to put it. While urgent needs are absolutely critical, the argument goes that humanity also needs grand, inspiring, long-term goals. Goals that push our boundaries, address our deepest existential questions.
So it forces you, the listener, to consider your own values, right? Do we only focus on immediate needs and tangible returns? Or do we also invest, even fractionally, in that grand existential exploration that, while speculative, could literally redefine everything? It's that tension. The practical versus the profound.
And that brings us perfectly to the final layer here, the cultural, the psychological resonance of SETI. Because it really is more than just a science project with data points and budgets. It's become a powerful symbol for humanity.
How so? What does it symbolize?
Well, it reflects so many deep-seated things, doesn't it? That profound hope that we're not alone in this vast, seemingly empty universe. A hope that's fueled myths and stories for millennia, long before radio telescopes.
A powerful motivator.
Absolutely. And also a profound humility. The idea that maybe we aren't the pinnacle of creation, maybe not the smartest species in the cosmos. That thought alone is incredibly humbling, expands our perspective, forces us to see ourselves in a much larger context.
And maybe a yearning, too.
Definitely a yearning.
Yeah.
That perhaps someone out there did survive their own planetary adolescence, their equivalent of climate change or nuclear threats or whatever challenges they faced. And maybe they have wisdom to share about sustainability, about ethics, about the nature of reality itself. Imagine what a million-year-old civilization might know. It's a yearning for connection, for cosmic kinship.
So SETI taps into something really fundamental, the mythic, the spiritual, the existential. It's not just about detecting radio waves.
Not at all. It's about potentially validating or challenging our place in the universe, our consciousness, our capacity for understanding. And it leads back to that question, is it worth funding? Even partly just for that reason. Can science have this kind of symbolic, inspirational value, even with uncertain practical returns?
SETI defenders would argue a resounding yes. That the search itself, win or lose, is this intrinsic expression of human curiosity, our drive to explore, our shared wonder. It pushes beyond purely scientific metrics into shared human experience, cosmic awe. It's about looking up.
So we arrive back where we started. The central question, the cosmic wager. Is SETI a colossal waste of resources? Or is it humanity's grandest, maybe most necessary gamble?
And I guess the answer really depends on what you, our listener, value most, doesn't it? If you demand guaranteed results, if you need certainty in your scientific investments, if you're focused purely on tangible, immediate returns, then yeah, SETI is almost certainly going to disappoint you.
The odds are astronomical, let's be honest. A quick discovery seems unlikely. Even an eventual one isn't guaranteed in our lifetimes, or ever.
And if you're looking for practical, immediate benefits, those tech spin-offs, or maybe finding simple life forms closer to home, then yes, there are probably faster, more direct routes elsewhere in science, as we've discussed. But if you're someone who looks at the sheer scale of the universe, its vastness, its mystery, and thinks it's just too immense, too magnificent to ignore, if you hold on to that idea that even one signal, one whisper from the dark, could fundamentally change everything for humanity, redefine our entire existence, then SETI isn't a waste. Not at all. It becomes something else. A profound wager on the future of human consciousness itself. An investment in our boundless curiosity, our yearning to connect with whatever else might be out there.
It's a bet on our capacity for grand exploration, isn't it? Our courage to keep listening even when faced with silence. And that unwavering hope that maybe, just maybe, we're part of something much, much larger.
Maybe we are alone.
Maybe we're not.
But we'll never truly know unless we keep listening.
Intently, patiently, with our ears pointed skyward.
Thank you so much for tuning into the Space and Astronomy Podcast. We really hope this deep dive into the complex world of SETI has given you a richer understanding of its ambitions, its challenges, and its truly profound implications.
Yeah, it's a lot to think about.
Definitely. Don't forget to follow, share, and perhaps leave us a review wherever you get your podcasts. It really helps others find the show.
Until next time, keep your mind open and keep your ears pointed skyward.